I remember being on Nottoway, man, and I was coming out of the hole, which is segregation. And they put me in a cell with this dude, and before I could get to the cell, I had two different cellies like this, of different dynamics and different races. But before I could get to the cell, everybody kept telling me, oh man, you going in that cell, you don't want to go in that cell, man. The man had about 18 cell partners in 2 weeks. Don't nobody stay in there with him. So I'm like, oh yes, yeah man, he crazy as hell. He came off of death row. How y'all doing out there? My name is Banky. I served 33 years in prison. I just was recently released, less than 4 months and some change ago, a couple of days, 4 months and a couple of days. And during my 33 years of prison, I seen a whole lot of crazy things, man. And just to name a few of them, I would talk to you today about a couple of them I seen, like involving women. Obviously, women is a big part of prison because of the simple fact of the environment that we in, that, you know, you are without a woman, you know what I'm saying, for the most part. Even if you got a woman, you don't have a woman. So that's a major issue in prison, but at the same time, they have a lot of women working in prison. I remember when I first started and I first got locked up, there wasn't that many women in prison. But as time went on, women more so now dominate the prison. It's like maybe 50-50 or even 60-40. There's a lot of women that work in prison now, men prisons. So with that being said, they all be at risk to abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, you know what I'm saying, mental abuse. And at the same time, they still come in there and go to work because they got bills and stuff to pay. So, you know, they got to do what they got to do as well. But some of the craziest things I seen in prison was with women, man. And the way I was raised, I don't approve of beating up women and things like that, especially by men, you know. So I almost got killed one time myself on the street. I was with my aunt and I seen a dude beating a woman up. When I was young, I was like 16, and I jumped out the car and tried to help her because we was at a stoplight, and I was gonna run up on him, and he pulled a gun out on me. You know, so he was getting ready to shoot me. He told me to mind my business, you know, and that was a lesson right there for me, because my aunt told me too. She said, don't never do nothing like that, because you don't never know what the situation is, and you never know what's going on with other people or what that is. You can run out there and try to help her and think you helping her, and she can be with him tomorrow. That just might be the way they live. So that was a life lesson, and that lesson carried on with me through life. And I say that because I remember when I was in prison, I was at Augusta, so I hadn't even been locked up but a couple of years. And I remember they had females working in there on the floor then. And I remember a female, they had to come in, if there was a floor officer, they had to come in sometime and they had to go and open the mop closet where you can get the mops out, the brooms, the chemicals to clean your cell or whatever. So man, she walked by a couple of times, opened the closet, getting stuff out, going back. And people are out there sitting there watching TV. Is no chaos, there's no, you know, friction or anything that I know of. And man, she came through one time and then she was walking by and this dude just stood up just as quietly and calmly and just walked up to her as if he was gonna walk past her, and reached out and grabbed her and slammed her down to the ground and ripped her shirt open and started punching her all in the face. And she's fighting back and he's punching her, ripped her shirt off, ripped her bra off. Now I go back to what I told you, I'm not accustomed to seeing dudes do this to women. But the dynamics of where I'm at, I'm in prison, and this is, you know, this is a whole different environment. And for you to get involved with that could cost you your life, you know what I'm saying? It costs you your reputation as well in prison for trying to help the police, even if it's a woman. And when you lose your reputation in prison, there you can very much lose your life, because your reputation is what's gonna keep people off of you. The ability for them to know that you a stand-up dude, the ability for them to know that you will be violent at the highest rate if you have to. That's what keeps dudes up off of you. So when you do something outside of them parameters of those codes, then you start being looked at different, which you will, you know, eventually have to prove yourself again. So those are little dynamics in prison that's just crazy. But for me to be watching that, it was just like, it was gut-wrenching because I hadn't seen nothing like that, you know what I'm saying? And he's just beating the woman and beating her, man, and they call for help, and the people run in there and they jump on them and they get them up off of them, and they coming, you know, 15, 20, then 30, just the whole compound will come when it's involving the officer, you know, which is another whole story in itself, because if it was a guy, they coming, but they ain't coming like that. But, you know, they got him up off of him, man. They was beating him up real bad in the pod, and she was naked and she's just screaming and stuff. And then they literally held him down and let her come jump on him. And she was punching them all in the face and everything. And the crazy part about it was, I don't even know why he did it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he had prior beef with her, or I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I just don't even know why he did it. But it was just a shocking eye-opener for me when I first got in prison, to see something like that can and did happen, you know what I'm saying, to a female. Like I said, that was at Augusta, so we talking about the late 80s, and I could fast forward all the way to like 2007. I was actually in the cell with this guy. He was a real quiet dude, a real humble dude, you know. I think he had a little bit going on with him, like he was, you know, a little messed up in the head. He had just recently lost his mother within a couple of months when I came in the cell with him. But he was super quiet, man. I mean, he barely talked at all. And then when he did talk, he talked in such a whisper that you could barely hear him. So we had an officer up there, a female officer, and she was real, like, arrogant and real picky. And she'll don't like you if she get to the point where she don't like you. She'll just edge at you all the time. And when you in there, you ain't got no control over that. You have to take it as it comes. So she used to get on him all the time because he was so quiet, and he had a nonchalant attitude. You could say things to him, and she said, well, you better get up and you better be up at count time. And he just wouldn't even argue with her, which when you're dealing with some people, that infuriates them more when you don't argue back, when you don't say nothing, because they feel like that you just ignoring them. So a lot of people get more upset about that than they do when you cuss them out, because I guess it's a lack of acknowledgement. But he did that to her all the time, man, and she just kept writing them charges and writing them charges. One day, man, she came by and she said something to him. And he told her, he said, you better leave me alone, man. I'm end up hurting you. And she was like, what you say? He said, you heard what I said. She said, no, say it again. He just ignored her. She left. She wrote him a charge that day for threatening her. So the next day they served him the charge, and he's sitting in there, and he got the charge, and he was showing it to me, and he was talking about, man, I can't believe she wrote me a charge for this, da-da-da-da-da. So I'm like, man, you just gotta leave her alone. Don't bother her, don't say nothing to her. So he leave up out of the room. I'm in there, and I'm cleaning up or whatnot. It was like 10 minutes later. I heard a big ruckus outside, and you know, you could tell the difference in the noise in prison. Regular noise, violent noise. It's just a difference. Your ear can detect that. So I heard that, so I go to the door, and I heard the police come running in there and say, everybody go to your cell, go to your cell, go, everybody lock up. That means something that happened. So my door won't open because it's locked already. When things like that happen, everything shut down. So the dudes was coming to their cell, so some dude standing outside my cell, just sleeping next to me. I said, man, what happened? What's going on? He said, man, your cell partner just punched the lady in the face. And I was like, what? It's like, yeah, he just punched the lady in the face, the CO in the face on the floor. So I'm like, oh my God. Now I'm in the cell with him, so whatever it is, they come into my cell as well. You know, irregardless, they come into my cell as well because he sleep there. So I was shocked, man, that he did that because of, like I say, his attitude, which also is a testament to prison. Like I say, you can never get too comfortable. You can never know who's who. You can never put limitations on what somebody will and won't do. Because I didn't think he would do that, but he did it, you know. And the craziest part about the situation was, when I found out later on, was she came in on the floor and he was down there. And he told somebody that he was talking to. He said, man, you know, the bro wrote me a charge, man, a bogus charge, man. I'm getting tired of her. She done wrote me so many charges. He said, I'm getting ready to go over here and knock her out. So the dude said, yeah, right. He walked right over to her, tapped on her shoulder. She turned around, he punched her in the face. Now, when he punched her in the face, what I was told was she bagged up, she didn't fall down. He walked up to her again, he punched her again. She reached in her shirt pocket and pulled out an ink pen and told him, get away from him or she was gonna stab him. He was standing in front of her, the side door open. Another inmate was coming in and seen it, grabbed her and pulled her in the salad port as if he was trying to get her to safety. She turned on him, said, "Get your hand off me, don't touch me, don't touch me." But he was literally trying to help her, which I go back to the first story, which I told you, that's a no-no in prison because of your reputation. He had a reputation for trying to help the police ever since that happened. But even more so, he got a charge for assault on her for trying to help her. So you damned if you do and you damned if you don't. See what I'm saying? So you have to be able to see things, and you have to be able to see and don't see. You have to be able to understand where you are, to understand what's going on in here, to even survive in prison. All of these are little things that will just trick you up in prison just like that. And he got tricked up just for trying to help her. It set him back. So he would have been better off just minding his own business and doing nothing, you know. And even with my cellie, after they came and got him and locked him up and beat him up, because that's what they're going to do when you touch one of them, beat him up real bad. And he was a small guy. They beat him up real bad, but they come to my cell and they go through it, tear my cell all up because it's his stuff in there, so they mad and they angry. And they eventually locked me up. 2 days later, they came and locked me up, too, for investigation. You know, I had nothing to do with it. Didn't know it was going to happen. Had no clue, but they locked me up. So I'm asking them in the calmest voice I can, what am I being locked up for? I didn't do anything. I wasn't outside my cell. I had nothing to do with the situation. What am I being locked up for? The warden, which was a female, looked me straight in my eyes. She said, "You've been locked up because you was his cell partner, and we need to know that you had no influence on what he did." And I'm looking at her, I'm saying to myself, how can I have any influence on what he did when he is a grown man doing his own time? He is not no kin to me. He is not my child. He is not my father. Well, how can I have any influence on what he did? You know, so that was just a situation that she just told me straight up, well, we're going to find out because you're going to jail. You're going to be under investigation. So I went to jail, and I was back there for probably 30, 35 days for something that I had nothing to do with. But this is a normal part of life in prison. This is what you go through in there. This is the things that's like everyday occurrences. All you have to do is hope that you can avoid most of it yourself. Don't be a part of it. Don't be around of it. But as you can see, like I'm explaining to you now, even when you're not around it, you still can be affected by it. And then if you are around it, if you do something that you think is helpful, it can be detrimental. So it's just crazy. This is like everyday normal life in prison. And these are just some of the things I've seen. But like I say, to see a dude just beat a woman like that, man. I was like, damn, when I seen that dude do that to that woman, I was on the guts. I probably hadn't been in prison about 3 years. I mean, he grabbed her, man, and just slammed it. It's just casual. Is you saying, "Hey, man, how you doing, Bank?" It was just that casual. She was walking by, he just did just like this. Boom, slammed on it. I said, what in? I said, man, that joint just bolted me. And my first instinct was to get him up off of him, man, but dude was like, man, you ain't got nothing to do with that. And I was like, yeah, you right. And I probably would have got late, you know, in more ways than one just for even getting involved. But it's crazy, man. It's some crazy stuff.
Let's talk about some of your cellies. I know you've had to have some cellies that you...
Oh, man.
I know you've had some cellies you probably just couldn't stand.
I had a smorgasbord of cellies, man, and man, and coincidentally, man, when you say that you just caught me off guard with that right there, man, because that bring up some real crazy memories, man. I've had some wild cellies, man. I mean some wild cellies, man. But I've had only one cellie that I could say that I had that I truly, truly, truly disliked, man. And it was this dude, man, that it was just recently too, man. This was like 2000 and probably 2012, 2013, man. I had this cellie, man. He was so I guess you could say whack, man. He was just such a whack dude, man. But he thought he was super tough, but he really wasn't. He was real big, so he thought he was tough. He just came out the Fed, so he talked loud. He talked boisterous. He act crazy. He act like he can, you know, beat the world up. But every day I had to lock in the cell with this dude, and I could see the other side of him, and I knew he was faking, which I don't care. You can pretend all you want, but you know, as long as it don't affect me. But he was in the cell with me, and it was affecting me because of the way he was acting. And he just was such a fake dude, man. I didn't like him, man. And he got out of line in that cell one day, man. And I'm trying not to get in trouble as hard as I possibly can, but he got out of line in that cell one day, man, and he touched me. And he touched me in a heated moment while we were arguing. And when he touched me, it just went to another level, man. And I ended up having to put hands on him, man. And I did that, man, and it just set me back so far. And I was just so irritated and mad with myself after I did it, because I knew that he wasn't nothing but mouth. I knew he wasn't nothing but mouth, man. And as soon as I did it, man, I was regretting it right then and there. And I knew he wasn't what he said he was, man. And at that point in time, I should have known. I should have been wise enough and smart enough to know. But that just goes to show you, too, that sometimes, you know, you can let your emotions overtake you and you can make a bad decision. Because to me, that was a bad decision. Because that caused me a couple of more years up there in that mountains. Just that fast, you know. So people don't have years to give off of their life. You know what I'm saying? I don't. You know what I'm saying? I done gave away too many already. So I don't. But those are life lessons and stuff, man. But I've had some cellies, man, that's just super crazy. I remember being on Nottoway, when you're talking about real crazy. I remember being on Nottoway, man, and I was coming out of the hole, which is segregation. And they put me in a cell with this dude, and before I can get to the cell, I had two different cellies like this, of different dynamics and different races. But before I could get to the cell, everybody kept telling me, oh, man, you going in that cell. You don't want to go in that cell, man. The man had about 18 cell partners in 2 weeks. Don't nobody stay in there with him. So I'm like, oh, yes, yeah, man, he crazy as hell. He came off of death row. I don't know if y'all know, but like back in the day, they had death row in Virginia, and I think they abolished the death row one of them years. Like people that was on death row. It ain't like now you go on death row, they trying to kill you within a couple of years. They changed the rules and regulations. But back then, you could be on death row for 20, 30 years, you know. So he was one of them that was on death row, but when they abolished the death penalty in Virginia, they just gave him a natural life sentence, so that brought him from death row to population. So however long he was on death row, which I believe at the time was like over 20-some years, so he was mentally messed up. You living every day knowing you're gonna die, you just don't know when. So your whole mentality is different when you're living like that. So now he's on population where, you know what I'm saying, he can't function. So everybody he's around, he's talking crazy and acting crazy. But when I'm coming out of segregation, if this the only cell I got to go in, or either go back to segregation, I'm going in the cell. So I went in the cell, man, and I tried to be nice to the dude. He ain't have nothing. I tried to give him stuff, help him, give him hygienes and stuff that, you know, take care of his hygiene. Man, this dude was crazy as a bedbug, man. He told me the first night I was in there, I was laid down on the bunk watching my TV, and I had the light on. He told me, he said, look, you gonna have to cut that light off, and you gonna have to turn that TV down, because I go to sleep early. So you either have to turn that TV down and cut that light off. So I'm not even used to nothing like that, you know what I'm saying? So I thought he was joking at first. You know, he's an older dude. I thought he was joking at first. I just politely told him, I said, look, brother, this is my TV. I look at it and play it how I want to. And that light is in the cell. I cut it off when I'm finished using it. Boom, he jumped up off the bunk and hit the floor. He said, you know, a lot of profanity, you know, I'm trying to keep from giving you all that part, but he was like, man, you ain't gonna come in here running nothing. You gonna do, you know, you gonna cut that light off, and you can cut that TV off, or you can get up out here right now. So I'm looking at him, and I'm sitting down, and he's still standing up, and he started putting his boots on. I ain't scared to fight. It don't make me no difference. Hey, I'm telling you right now, you ain't coming in this cell. You ain't running nothing. So I'm looking at this cat. I'm like, is this dude serious, man? Because I'm saying he's like 60-some years old, and it's nothing he can do to me. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing he can do to me. But from his perspective, you could not tell him that. And I mean, he was being like super aggressive. If he was another dude besides a 60-something-year-old dude, I would already have crushed him. But I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, but he is just like snapping out and going crazy. So now I stand up and I'm looking at him and I'm just trying to give him the look, like letting him know, man, don't try to put your hands on, you know. So he's like, man, I'm telling you, you're not gonna be using that TV. You're not gonna be keeping that light on. You can get up out here. I take your stuff and throw it out the pot. So you ain't gonna do nothing to my stuff. You ain't gonna touch nothing here that don't belong to you. You ain't gonna do nothing to me. So you need to sit there, man, and calm yourself, bro, because I don't want to hurt you up in the set. You can't hurt me. You can't hurt me. And he started beating all on this shit. You see who I am? You can't hurt me. I was on death row. They can't hurt me. You can't hurt me. So he was so loud, man, that the people come to the door. He turned around and started cussing on them. They like, what's going on in here? What's going on? And I said, man, I don't know what's going on. He said, don't worry about what's going on in here. Don't worry, he getting the hell up out here. He don't play his TV when he wants. He don't leave this light on. This my cell. He getting up out here. So they trying to tell him to calm down. He arguing and screaming with them. So now they beefing with him. So I'm just sitting back on the bed now just watching this stuff. And I'm like, man, what am I in the Twilight Zone? Am I in the Twilight Zone? This man is trying to fight, trying to go crazy, trying to tell me how to handle my property and what I'm gonna do and when I'm gonna go to sleep, when I'm gonna cut a light out. Now you can't even make this stuff up, man. But this is the type of stuff you have to deal with. Now just imagine that you in prison and you trying to be humble and you trying to stay problem free. These are the things that you're gonna have to deal with, no matter what. Because even though he was old and he was, 67 years old, and he could have still possibly tried to do something to hurt me. He could have pulled out a knife. I don't know. But I have to be willing to protect myself at all times, and I have to be willing not to get hurt by any means necessary. Whether it's a 60-something-year-old man or what, I can't let myself get hurt because there's only one me. So, but they eventually came and got him and took him out, man, and got him up out the cell, which I was thankful for because I didn't want to hurt him, but I definitely was not going to let him hurt me. But he was in it to win it, man. He came up off that bunk, and he put them boots on, and he was ready to fight at 60-something years old. Because I would not cut the light off, or he wanted my TV to be low enough where he could be comfortable. You want me to inconvenience me so you can be convenient. So these is the type of cellies I had. Now when I say I had two different kinds, I was in the cell one time, they put me in the cell with like a 80-something-year-old white guy. And he was super racist. And it was the only cell, again, that I had to go in. So I went in the cell. But everybody was telling me, you don't want to go in there, man. You don't want to go in there. And not only was he an 80-something-year-old white man who was racist, it was said that, too, he was in there for molesting his own granddaughter. So this was just like a horrible situation for me. I didn't want to be around any of this. But I had no choice because, like I said, you can't choose when you go in there. Same case scenario. I go in there with him, and he see when I moved in, I see the way he looked at me, and he was in disgust, and he started pointing out things. Already he's wrong because he pointing out things, telling me what I'm going to do, where I'm going to sleep, what belongs to him, don't touch this, don't touch that. I'm just looking at him like, are you serious? You know what I'm saying? So he was like, well, I go to work in the morning, and I don't like people to come to my cell, so don't have no company over here, and so I knew I wasn't staying there, but I was trying to humble myself just so I can not go back to segregation. But I knew right then and there I wasn't staying there because he just was not my type of dude. So then when he come back, you know what I'm saying, after I'm in there about 2 or 3 days, he's complaining about everything. Then after about 2 or 3 days, man, he just straight up told me, he said, man, I don't think I want you in this cell, man. I don't think I want you to be in here, man. I feel more comfortable, man, if I had a white guy in here, man. I don't want you to be in here, right? So I was trying to be respectful of my elders, even though he was, who he was. And I was like, man, I don't care what you want. I'm in here because the people put me in here. It ain't your choice. So, he was like, well, you got to go, man, because I don't want you in here, man. And I know people telling you that I did this and I did that, but I ain't do that for real. They lied on me, and then he just started telling me all these elaborate, crazy type of stories, like he went to college with F. Lee Bailey, and he got F. Lee Bailey on call. He can call him. If y'all don't know who F. Lee Bailey is, he's one of the greatest lawyers you know what I'm saying, that in the United States that I ever heard of. He's one of the top lawyers. He used to be considered the best lawyer at the time. He said he went to school with him. And this man is 80-some years old. Like I told you, he got about 100 pills up here that he takes every day. But yet he's telling me that he's also a black belt in karate, and he can get me out of the cell physically if he wants to. So I looked at him when he said that, and I said, "You a black belt?" He said, "Yes, I'm a black belt." And I said, "Well, if you are a black belt, then that belt done faded by now, because, man, you almost 100 years old, and you can barely get out of the bed, man. What are you gonna do to me?" And he jumped up and said, "Do you want to see?" I said, "No, man, I don't want to see. I don't even want to see." He said, "Well, you getting up out of here, man. I don't want you in here. I don't want you in my cell." So he getting loud and everything. Now, this is like I say, I can push this dude and knock him down. You know, I can push him and knock him down, but he probably fall and die, and then I'm in a whole nother situation. So I'm trying to stay away from this cat, man, and he in there, he's ranting and raving and yelling and screaming. And the same thing, the police come around and making around and ask him what was wrong. He said he don't want me in the cell. He want me to get out, and he acting all foolish and crazy. And they told me, man, just deal with him for the night, man. We'll move you tomorrow, which was a rare occasion. So I got lucky, man. They came around there and moved me the next day. But all night, that's all I heard from him was, "How you gonna get your black hand posse up out of here? I don't like no black bastards," and this, that, and the third. And, man, he was just... And I had to really, I had to humble myself, man, to the 10th power, man, for not to respond to that. But like I say, those are situations. Now, had he been a young, strapping 30, 40-year-old, he would have got the you know what beat out of him. But an 80-some-year-old man, I can't do that, man. I can't do that. But those are the type of people you have in prison. Those are the type of personalities you got to deal with from one extreme to the next extreme. That's what you got to deal with, man. You have to be able to deal with. That's why I say, when you get out of here in this society, whatever they throw at me, it might be different. It might be new. It might be a curveball, but I'm going to have to deal with it, because I done dealt with almost everything you could possibly think of in there, in close quarters, you know. And not to say that, things out here won't overwhelm me, because there's some things out here that overwhelm me too, but I'm just going to have to adapt and cope and adjust to whatever happens, because that's what you got to do in there if you wanted to survive. Because any one of those situations that I just explained could have caused me to stay in the prison for the rest of my life. Any one of them. Or it could have cost me my life, because you now you in the cell with one of them dudes, and you may feel like they're not a threat, but you still got to lay your head down and go to sleep. You still got to close your eyes. I could lay down and go to sleep, and an 80-year-old man could kill me in my sleep. That's just that simple. A crazy man that's been on death row could stab me to death in my sleep. So these are the things you got to deal with in prison, man. It's just a crazy life, man. So like I say, I be trying to get to the youth out here right now, and I be trying to tell them some of these things. Because if you out there running around now and you 16, 17, 15, 18, 19 years old, 20-some years old, and you playing these games out here right now with this gang stuff and these pistols and running around and shooting people, and, man, you don't know what you getting ready to get yourself into. You don't know, not even a clue what you getting ready to get yourself into, because ain't none of that gonna help you inside there. None of it. And it ain't going to be over, and it ain't going to run its course until it run its course. So you go up in there and you be up in there for 20, 30 years for, you feel like, because you got to shoot a dude out here because he said something crazy to you, or he did something crazy that you can't accept, and you got to shoot it. So that's worth doing 20, 30 years of your life in prison. That's what you got to ask yourself when you out here doing this foolishness out here, and you don't know what's on the other side of that wall, and I promise you, you don't want to be on that. You don't want to be on the other side of that wall. And when I say the other side of that wall, I mean the other side of society. Because when you in there, that ain't society. That ain't living at all. So you better think about that when you out here doing what you're doing, and you joining these gangs, and you doing all this other foolishness, and you think that, you can be all right if you go in there. Nah, that ain't guaranteed. That definitely is not guaranteed. So, that's the type of message I think they need to understand, because a lot of these dudes out here, they doing things now that they know is wrong, but they don't know the consequences of what, you know what I'm saying, is going to happen when you get exposed or when you get found out or when you get caught. You don't know the consequences. And I promise you, if you within that age range, even if you outside of that age range from 15 all the way up, you ain't going to be able to handle what they going to throw at you. You don't have a clue. You don't have a clue. You don't have a clue, because even me, I didn't know if I could handle it. You had to learn on the fly, and some people can't do that because there's a lot of people that came in with me. I was having a conversation with the dude the other day. There's a lot of people that came into prison with me that's dead. And I mean dead in prison. They didn't even make it out of prison. They didn't even make it out of. Dudes I left the jail with did not even make it out of prison. So it's not guaranteed that when you go in, you gonna come out. And it's not guaranteed when you go in, you gonna come out sane, or you gonna come out, you know, unscarred, or you gonna come out where you gonna be able to function. So you need to think about all them things while you got your freedom, man, and enjoy your freedom, man, and put all that foolishness to the side. And that's just real. And that's what I tell my nephews. That's what I tell any young kid that's around me. You better think before you make them dumb moves. You better think before you pick up that gun. You better think before you join that gang. Because when you get in there, it ain't none of that and none of them gonna help you. Period. I can promise you that. So, you know, yeah, but it's a life, man. It's a life. It's a hell of a life, man. I just thank God that I made it up out there. But it's not recommended for nobody. You know, nobody.